Hello everyone. I want to give you a short video on some of the aspects of the interface in Photoshop. First of all, let me tell you how to get to your default layout here, because the classroom in a book asks you to do that quite often, and you may or may not have figured that out. They should have directions in there, but it's different in every version. First of all, go up to your window, go to Workspace, and then click on Essentials Default, and that'll bring you to the default layout for your panels. You can also go up to your options bar. This is the options bar right here. Click right on that little triangle, and then go to the gear and go Reset All Tools, and that brings you to the default setting for all of your tools. If any of these windows don't go away or panels, just hit your Escape key, and that'll get rid of it. Okay, so now you are at full default. The other way of doing it is before you start Photoshop, hold down your Command Option and Shift key on the Macintosh, your Control Alt and Shift key on the PC before you start Photoshop. Then once Photoshop starts, you'll get a dialog box that asks you if you want to throw away the settings. You do, click yes, and that will also bring you to your default state. This will not throw away anything that you've made, such as brushes or actions or custom patterns, anything like that. Those will not be discarded. Those will be saved. So you can do this anytime, even if you've been working in Photoshop and have quite a stockpile of customized tools. Okay, so let's look at the actual anatomy of this. These over here, these layers, channels, paths, adjustment styles, those are all your panels. Depending on the title, the layers panel right here is highlighted. It's the most bright one. If I click on the name channels, that'll take me to the channels panel. Down at the bottom, you have the trash can, which will throw away the current layer. You also have a new layer icon. That is a new whatever your panel is. So if I'm in swatches, for instance, if I click on that, it's going to make a new swatch. Okay, so whatever panel you're in, that little icon makes a new whatever it is that the panel is holding. The next one in this one is a group. You can create a group of layers. We're going to go over this in detail in the layers, but I just wanted to introduce you to a couple of different things as we go through here. You also have linking layers, layer styles, layer masking, which we'll get into with a layers lesson as well, and this is adjustment layers. Okay, layers I'm going into in a little more detail because that is important, and we're going to be working with layers right off the bat. Over here, we have our Tools panel on the left-hand side of my screen here. You can always pick it up by the top little bar and move it if you don't find it to be convenient on that side. I do, but I think a lot of left-handed people may like it more on the right-hand side of the screen, or I've seen other people do that too. It's totally up to you how you want to set up your interface, but as far as the lessons go, it's best to leave it at the default for now. Once you get a little more experience, you can change whatever you want to change. Okay, we have all sorts of tools in here. You've got your move tool, your marquee tool, your lasso tool. You have a quick selection tool there. Magic wand is hidden underneath, by the way. Any of these tools that have little triangles at the bottom have hidden tools underneath them. This is the eraser tool. If I hold down on my clicker on my mouse button, I will see the hidden tools underneath this eraser tool. I have the background eraser and the magic eraser tool. So you've got all these tools that you see plus tools hidden underneath. The gradient tool, for instance, hides the paint bucket tool and also the 3D material drop tool. Okay, we have the type tool down here. That's what you're going to click to put type onto your images. And we have a shape tool right here. This is for selecting paths. This is your hand tool. If I am zoomed in, which I just used the Command or Control and the plus key to zoom in that way, then I can move around. Oops, sorry. Once I have activated the hand tool, then I can move around in the image like that without zooming out. I can also do the same thing. I'm going to use Command and or Control 0 to show the entire image. I can also, once I move in, hold down the, let me go to a different tool, hold down the space bar, and that will give me the hand tool without changing tools and automatically bring me right back to the tool I was using. Much faster, much easier. Command again or Control 0 to zoom out. Your foreground and background colors are right here. Double click on your foreground color. Actually, let me click, just single click does it, on your foreground color, and you come up with a pile of the same hue. This is your hue. So if we're in the blues, for instance, okay, here are all the blues that are available at that point in the hue scale. If I go up here, you see the colors all change. That little semicircle there indicates where the color is now. That's the bottom one. I have to click in this bigger square somewhere to get the new color. That will change my foreground color. Okay, same thing on the background color. Click on somewhere in here to the right and is more saturated, to the left is desaturated, to the top is lighter and brighter, to the bottom is deeper and darker. Okay, so if I click, then I've got new foreground and background colors. All right, so that is what you need to know instantly about your tools palette. Get in there and kind of play with those things and read your text. Up at the top of your screen right here, underneath the title bar, you will see an options bar. Okay, whatever tool you pick, the brush tool for instance, you will get different options, all the options available for that particular tool. So if I go to the crop tool, I get a different set of options. Each tool has its own specific options. All right, so options bar, tool bar, layers panel, paths panel, adjustments panel, color swatches panels. Up at the very top of your screen, you have pull-down menus. Up here, you can open up a new file, open up an existing file, go to Browse and Bridge, and you'll notice to the right of the pull-down menu, these are the keyboard shortcuts for all of those operations. You have them in every pull-down menu. I would recommend memorizing about 4 of these each week. If you memorize 4, which is very, very few, put them in a little post-it, make yourself use them until you learn them, then next week put up 4 more, and you will have a nice selection of keyboard shortcuts. It will save you a ton of time in the long run. Each one of these has various things that you can do with whatever the top of the pull-down menu's label is. So this one, for instance, in layers, I can delete layers, make a new layer, duplicate layers, I can make a layer mask. I can also do nearly everything the same with the flyout menu over here and with the bottom part of the layers panel. So in Photoshop, one of the truisms of Photoshop is that there is at least 2 to 3, even 4 ways of doing everything in Photoshop, and we all develop our own habits and our different styles. Okay, if you don't see the panel you want, go to the window pull-down menu. If it's checked, it's out there on your desktop somewhere. It may be hidden under something else. You can uncheck it and recheck it to bring it to the foreground. If it's not checked, just click on it and that will bring the panel to the foreground. You can click on the side, bring it over, and it'll set itself in and minimize itself into that little icon space. Okay? You also have a help menu, which doesn't do you a lot of good until you know Photoshop's vocabulary. Once you learn the labels for things, it will be very helpful. It will give you a ton of information if you are stuck and need to know how to do something. Speaking of getting stuck, one of the ways to kind of get unstuck is hit the escape key. Sometimes you'll be stuck in a dialog box, you don't know what to do. You can hit the escape key. That may get you out of it. Another thing is to go to the move tool. That will sometimes get you out of it if you're stuck. Other than that, you have to look up in your options bar and see if there's a flashing light where Photoshop is expecting you to fill something in. That should get you out of most situations when you get a little bit stuck. And that happens to everybody forever. We'll be doing something we don't realize we've done, and we've got a blinking light somewhere and we get stuck. The other little trap that you may fall into is if you hit the letter Q, or if you hit this little icon down here, that brings you into the quick mask mode. There we go. It shows up as alpha right there. But if I look in the channels, it says alpha. And what that does is it works in a way that it basically defaults to black and white tones for your foreground and background, and you're working in a mask. So if I come in here with a brush, I'm using my right bracket key to make the brush larger, and paint, you'll see it doesn't paint as black. I'm actually in a quick mask mode, which means I'm making a selection. Everything that's painted with red is outside of the selection. Everything that's painted in clear is inside the selection. So if I hit the letter Q, and then I'm going to hit Command or Control J, that will bring what I've just selected to a new layer. And you can see whatever was red there is not part of that selection that I copied and pasted to the new layer using Command or Control J. It's deleted from that layer. So that's another little trap that you can fall into. If it's not behaving the way you expect it, check the upper bar, the title bar of your image there, and see if it says alpha or quick mask in there. And then all you have to do is hit the letter Q or that little icon near the bottom of your tools palette to get out of that. I hope that gets you off to a pretty good start. As I said, read the text, and I will be going over any questions you may have next Tuesday during the chat, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be there, and I look forward to talking to all of you. Chat is not required. However, the more I get to know you, the more generous I tend to be with grades. And don't sweat the grades. This is an art class. I always tell my students, this is an art class, and it's really, really hard to get it wrong in an art class. So you can get it wrong about the programming, but as far as what you're making or designing, I'll give you critiques, I'll give you information as best I can, but it's a matter of taste most of the time. So I am so glad you decided to join my class. I look forward to working with all of you.